Hey everyone, and welcome back to CJ Race Cars YouTube channel. Today Troy and I are going to discuss the last video and announce who the winner was.
The winner!
Did you go through all the comments and see who the winner was?
I went through a lot of them.
There was a lot. There's like 1,400 comments, I think. It was a lot.
As far as I can tell, that Bill guy was...
Bill Berryhill.
Bill Berryhill.
So the answer was $185,000 to build a rolling chassis. There was probably 10 people that guessed that.
Exactly.
But Bill Berryhill was the first person to guess that. So, Bill, if you watch this video, get with us and we'll get you a shirt out.
Heck yeah.
And appreciate all the people that...
Call the shop, email, whatever it takes.
Yeah, send a letter, email, call Troy. Message Troy. He'll drive you a t-shirt.
Wow.
You drive it to him?
Okay. I don't know.
Anyways, we wanted to touch on that a little bit
or
again.
If he's close enough, he could drive here and get it.
Yeah, that'd be fine. On a Friday.
On a
and
Friday.
We'll have not a barbecue yet.
We won't have a barbecue.
We've been slacking on the barbecues.
Slacking hard.
We did do a pizza last Friday.
We did. It was lovely.
Pizza was good.
Yes.
So, anyways, we wanted to touch on what you actually get for $185,000, and then also discuss what it costs to finish the car from there, because a lot of people, you know, were asking how much it costs from there to finish it, motor, transmission, what all is left. So
now a lot of these prices are vague, not necessarily vague, but you can spend a lot more, you can spend a lot less. It depends on your personal taste and exactly what you're trying to do. If you're trying to play with the big boys over in MPK or Pro Mods and such, you're probably going to want to spend a little more. However, some of these guys aren't spending all the money and doing very well. So a lot of it has to do with the right combo, track prep, experience. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and this is one of them.
Agree. And you also could buy, you know, there's a lot of people that do good with cars that are not brand new.
Oh, absolutely.
The only problem I've ever seen with a car that's not brand new is
it may not necessarily be exactly set up for what you're trying to do.
That's the hard part.
At which point you're going to have to throw a lot of money at it to get it where it needs to be for what you want to do. A lot of times you can find a car that's exactly what you're looking for, and now you go to get in it and it was a little guy driving it and it was built for a little guy, and you're not 5'10", you're 6'3" and don't fit in the car. So there's a lot of variables to that. A lot of cars can be modified to do whatever you need to do, not necessarily cheaply, but a lot less expensive than building a brand new car. So the option of buying a used roller is out there. What we want to cover basically is what we do in selling a brand new car and basically what it costs to do that.
Yeah. In my eyes, the biggest problem with buying a used car now is over the year, like when you started building a car, everyone moved the motor back a foot.
Yes.
That was the theory. And then going into radials and even big tires, people started moving the motors forward.
Weight forward.
And now you got people moving motors back again. So if you get a car that the motor's at, we'll just say 88 inches to the mid plate to the center of the axle, it is probably not going to work how you want it to work on a no prep surface.
With big tires.
Or even small tires with a Pro Charger. The motors are still far back. So if you get a car that the motor's moved 8 inches, that may not seem like a ton, but 8 inches and the motor combo and training combo weighs 900 pounds, that's a lot of weight moved. You know, if you got a problem doing something crazy and move 10 pounds to the front end, it changes a lot. So now imagine moving 900 or 1,000 pounds 8 inches farther forward.
You got to figure
really
that engine and transmission combo is a very heavy component in the car, and even an inch or two makes a big shift in the weight as far as setting the car up to work, depending on the tire and the track and so forth.
Absolutely. Even up and down, like crankshaft centerline.
Oh, absolutely.
With the strut cups, you know, we set the motors pretty low, but you can move them up an inch or inch and a half and try to get the weight to the back. So that's something we'll cover in another video, but that was just my point. If you buy a used car, that may be a problem you run into. We've you know, for a while, Justin, you guys probably saw the cars that Justin was buying, and they were used cars and they were good cars, but we would change the front, and then
Right.
we would change some stuff in the back, but then they weren't enough to fit a 36. And that's another thing. Nobody really built any steel roof and quarter cars 5-10 years ago that fit a 36. There was not a lot of people running a 36,
Right.
or an 18 or 20-inch wide wheel. So
Because for the longest time, everything had been leaning more and more towards the drag radial stuff.
yep.
Now this No Prep Kings came out, and big tires are back in fashion, and they're going fast.
Yeah,
So-
oh, they're going fast. It's crazy how fast on those tracks.
Yeah.
And those tracks are pretty. They get decent on the starting line after
Absolutely.
after the first night or so. But 200-300 feet out there, they're sketchy.
Yeah.
For sure. So we wanted to touch on what you actually get for the 185, and like Troy said, you could go with where we supply titanium. You could go chromoly, and you could save $20,000. You could wrap the car and save $6,000.
For depending
Depending on, yeah. I mean, if you have a 632 and you don't need a dual frame rail, and you don't need, all the stuff that this car has, you could save some money there.
The prices fluctuate, but
There's some money to be saved, but either way, it's a lot of money.
basically what we're trying to do in this video is we want to baseline it down to our double frame rail car. for big
25.2.
tires.
These are all 25.2 chassis.
Yes.
So,
And that is a chromoly chassis. You hear us say titanium. Anything that's titanium is going to be a bolt-on item that is not NHRA specific. It's not a tube that has to be spec. Doesn't have to be checked or specified. It's basically like a lot of the stuff that we'll do in the front end to hold the gas tank or the fuel cell and all that might be titanium. The steering column might be titanium. A lot of components might be titanium, but they have nothing to do with the actual frame. Basically, this whole structure in here is what NHRA is concerned with, and this is all chromoly. The entire chassis is chromoly, front to back.
yeah, that's the only option. You can't build that you can build it now out of Docol R8.
Yes.
But we tried it, and we didn't necessarily care for it or see a big difference, so we got away from it. The other problem with that was there's only really one supplier in the United States, so it made it tough to get. So we got away from that. But like Troy was saying, the cockpit is the only thing really specified in the SFI book, and it has to be a certain way. And there's even some tubes, like we showed you in the funny car cage, that we add that don't have to be there.
Right. This is
That,
one.
yep, that upper tube there doesn't have to be there, but we started adding it because in my eyes, if you have an issue and you get close to something, there's not a lot keeping something out of your.
No, absolutely.
Your driver's
it's a
compartment
big
in.
hole to be. All we have is this piece of 1 inch out here
Yep.
that wraps around the head, and generally that will have a head restraint, custom head restraint mounted to it. But it's still an awful big hole, so we started putting this tube in. So that's all included, as well as whatever transmission you are putting in the car. We're going to have the mounts for that. Your mid plate for your motor and tranny combo, that's going to be included. Your motor plate in the front, your engine plate, that's going to be included. Of course, your steering column, all your steering components, that's all going to be included. This car is all titanium. It can be done in chromoly for a little less money. Your rack and pinion, we only use the Strange unit now. We find it to be very dependable use. It's rock solid. They hold up very well. It's also going to include your lower A-arms and struts. That the struts is another thing that is got a lot of choices that can fluctuate the price a little bit depending on what you're trying to do, how fast you're trying to go, and so forth.
Yeah, you could spend if you depend on what struts you go. The struts we've been using are Mensker front canister struts and 4-way adjustable rears. They're about $9,000-ish for the set.
Yes.
For the two fronts and the rears. You could go and spend $2,000 on fronts and $1,000 on rears, so you could save $6,000 there. But in my opinion, the struts and the shock technology is very important to make these cars work. So,
especially with the support that they offer as far as getting it tuned up and getting it working down the road.
yeah, definitely not something you want to skimp on. I'd rather do the chromoly stuff and the good struts and
And
good
at the end
shocks.
of the day, if you're really trying to build something at this level, you really want to spend the money. I'm not saying throw a bunch of money at anything. I'm saying if you spend the money well on good parts out of the gate, you're going to have a really nice piece when it's done. And they generally will hold their value as well, which is something that you're not going to see from a car that's, say, 10 years old and it started out as an 850 cage and it got updated to this or updated to that, and you got tubes piled on tubes, where this is a specific purpose-built car built to do what it does. And you know, you're going to find they hold pretty good value if down the road you find yourself wanting to go to a different car or get out of it altogether. The car is going to hold a certain amount of value. So it's a, you know, 6 one half does another. The quality's built into the cars, and they will hold their value down the road, provided you don't wad it up into the wall. I mean,
Yeah,
God forbid,
try to avoid that.
it happens.
Another thing, just to touch on that, don't want to get too carried away, but as far as holding their value, in my opinion, a car like a 69 Camaro or a 70 Nova or a 70 Chevelle will hold its value better than a 2019 Camaro, because when a 2021 Camaro comes out, that's now an old car.
Yep.
And everyone wants a new front end and a new tail lights and stuff. So in my opinion, this car or Markowitz's car or Monza's car will hold its value a lot better than a newer car will, just because they're already, you know, they're already classics. They're not going to be outdated in 2 years, 5 years.
That's not the frown on the newer body styles in any way. That's just personal opinion on regarding, you know, so some people like the new cars, the new stuff. I kind of like the old stuff myself, but I'm old. I remember when they were new. It's kind of weird.
So in that $185,000, like he just touched on, you get a motor plate, you get the mid plate, you get obviously the roof quarters, you get all the carbon fiber body panels, you get doors, front end, hood, deck lid,
All your tubs and tin.
all the tubs, tin, carbon interior. The $185,000 also included pretty much most of our titanium package, which would be firewall, driver's floor, drive shaft enclosure,
Seat tub.
all the seat. Yeah, you get the carbon seat
That's
tub.
the rear end housing, 4-link bracket,
Modular rear end housing,
Yes.
whether it be a Strange or Mark Williams or something similar,
with axles.
with axles, no center section.
No center section.
So basically, if you buy one of our cars for $185,000 ish, you will need to buy a motor, a transmission, a converter, a shifter, electronics,
Center section.
fuel system, center section, drive shaft, and have it wired, plumbed, and then you'll be ready to go to the track.
Speaking of plumbed, they do come with the brake lines.
Yes, we do all the brake lines and all the fire lines. They do come with it. I don't know. I'm sure everyone that's seen our videos has seen the brake lines, how we do our brake lines. We do the back one, goes through the chassis right there. There's a lot more reasons than just for looks. If your tranny comes apart and that's on the inside or it's on the inside of the frame rail and someone jacks it up, pinches it, and now you don't have brakes, it's actually a safety issue. So
anything going past that transmission, flywheel, converter area, you want to be protected. Wiring, brakes, brake lines, anything going through that area. If you can run it through the frame, that's the best way to do it.
ideal for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you come up with once you have one of our cars, and to finish it, you'll end up with about 100 in an engine, roughly. It depends on what you do. The nitrous deals, I know Musie's deal is like 120 now.
Right.
You could spend a little more, a little less, but on average, I think like this Pro Charge deal is about 100 with the Pro Charger, or right around there, new. A Turbo 400 with a lockup converter and shifter is around 27, 28, I think.
100,000.
100, that'd be nice.
I know.
I'd buy as many as I could get.
Oh, I can only dream.
So that's about 130-ish thousand.
Yeah.
Then you
Drive
need
shaft.
drive shaft, center section. That's another 7,000 or so.
Ish.
So you're almost to 140,000 extra. Electronics, you can spend 15 or 20,000 real quick. So after you buy your electronics, your engine, your transmission, converter, shifter, you're another 140,000 or so. Ish. And then you got to have it wired, which is about 8 to 10.
Yeah.
So that's about 150.
And that's another subject that really needs to be focused on seriously. There's no, you don't want to go chiseler's choice on the wiring. It's
Absolutely not.
you will have problems from that car forever if it's not done right the first time. It's and there's plenty of people that are very knowledgeable and very experienced to do it. A lot of people try and do it themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that if you got a little bit of an idea what you're doing. But with these modern electronics, it's best, if you have any question, it's best to take it to somebody that has the experience with this equipment to be able to take care of that for you and send you down the road right.
Well, there's nothing worse than getting your car wired and getting to the track and you're 1,500, 2,000 miles away from home and having an electrical problem and you have no clue how to chase it down or how to find it, and it ruins basically your whole weekend really quick. It can happen.
And a lot of these guys that do a lot of wiring do all their wiring the same, and they're generally only a phone call away. But definitely don't scrimp on the wiring as well as the plumbing, because the plumbing is the lifeline of the car. Kind of like, you know, you got to get the fuel where it's got to go. You got to get the oil where it's got to go. The stuff needs to be moved efficiently and safely. And again, you got to be careful of how you route all of that plumbing. You don't want that stuff anywhere near where, say, you torch a head and you got fire coming out the side of the head. I've seen it before. Burn right through a fuel line, and next thing you know, the car's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, you know, 200 miles an hour on fire. You might as well be sitting behind a jet car at full afterburner, because it's about the same thing. I mean, it's gets scary fast.
So that's about where we end up. About 350-ish thousand to 400,000 is about what it takes to have a complete car. And like we said in the last video, that's no spare parts, no rig,
Not yet.
no crew, no airfare, no fuel to get to the track.
Now, we all know
And
that,
we're already about $345,000 over my budget, so
Yeah.
I'm going to stay at the house. Well, I think that's it for this video. I think we touched everything.
Yeah.
If you guys have any ideas also for videos, rather than us just give you updates every 2 days, which we'll do that also, but
We're trying
if you
to
guys
get
have any
more.
ideas, or if there's anything you guys want to see or you think would be cool to know, we have no problem telling you whatever you want to know.
Yeah.
I don't. Troy doesn't for sure. He'll tell you anything.
we're working. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, I'm bummed. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell.
All right, everyone. Until the next video. See ya.
Absolutely. Signing off.